officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting America.
I want to tell you about the Illinois Attorney General's office now ordering a charity run by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard to stop soliciting donations.
Tiffany Henyard, the self-declared super mayor of Dalton, has become the target of intense criticism and calls for resignation after her popularity sharply plummeted. This sudden fall from grace has left the small town in disbelief, as residents and officials now question her leadership and actions. Despite earlier suspicions, Henyard is now accused of money laundering and misusing public funds to fund an extravagant lifestyle. These allegations have painted a damning portrait of a leader who allegedly used her position for personal gain. The accusations against Henyard are serious. She is accused of stealing from residents, firing staff who disagreed with her, and abusing her authority to gain sensitive information on political rivals. The township supervisors of Norton have condemned her unethical and possibly illegal behavior, which has damaged Dalton's reputation. Among the most alarming allegations is that Henyard misused public resources, including employing a large personal security detail that diverted police attention from actual criminal activities in the town. One particularly disturbing claim involves a dismissal of a police officer who questioned her actions, raising concerns about Henyard's pattern of retaliatory behavior and abuse of power. As more details emerge, public outrage has escalated, and the demand for accountability has grown. Residents of Dalton are calling for a full investigation into her actions as they seek justice and transparency. They demand the removal of a leader they believe has violated the trust of the community and failed to uphold the mandate she was elected to fulfill. This developing situation highlights the significant abuse of public office and leaves the town sharply divided as they look for a path forward.
Very stressed and critical to the point of almost breaking.
Former Dalton Police Chief Robert Collins, recently fired by Mayor Tiffany Henyard, spoke to us from Florida, where he began a new job after his dismissal late last year.
Wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible and accountable for their.
Last year, a Fox 32 investigation uncovered troubling details about Tiffany Henyard's use of Dalton police officers as her personal security detail. These officers were reportedly driving her from morning till night, frequently taking her to her second taxpayer-funded job as a Thornton Township supervisor in South Holland. Through an open records request, the investigation revealed that the officers assigned to Henyard racked up hundreds of hours of overtime, which ultimately cost local taxpayers thousands of dollars, as news spread that Henyard's bodyguards had allegedly secured thousands of taxpayer dollars under questionable circumstances. Skepticism and scrutiny among the local community grew. Many residents found it hard to believe that the bodyguards could have worked such extensive hours without drawing attention to discrepancies in their pay and responsibilities. This raised concerns about how public funds were being spent, especially when these resources could have been directed toward addressing more pressing community needs. The situation became more contentious as accusations of misappropriating public funds surfaced. Rumors spread that essential police resources have been diverted to protect Henyard's personal safety rather than being used for crime prevention or other vital services in Dalton. Further fueling the controversy were reports that several members of Henyard's security team had strong connections to her inner circle, sparking suspicions of nepotism and conflict of interest. This situation only intensified the public outcry as more residents questioned the integrity of her leadership with the revelations of financial mismanagement and questionable priorities. Calls for accountability and transparency grew louder. Locals began to demand justice as the extent of financial irregularities became more apparent. It was increasingly clear to the community that these expenditures may have been part of a larger pattern of corruption. The irony of a town struggling with limited law enforcement resources while taxpayer money funded the mayor's personal security detail was not lost on residents, who became more outraged at the misuse of public funds. Outraged community members banded together, calling for a full investigation into both the financial discrepancies and the leadership decisions that allowed such practices to persist. As the demand for answers intensified, it became evident that Henyard's administration was facing a growing crisis of trust. The public, now mobilized, sought significant changes, pushing for a renewed commitment to ethical leadership, openness, and justice. The pressure on Henyard to account for her actions and explain the ongoing misuse of public resources only mounted as the community fought for transparency and change.
The other end of that flight that's going to do harm.
Collins says he became increasingly frustrated because the mayor's detail tied his hands when it came to fighting crime.
Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, is under increasing scrutiny as new allegations continue to surface regarding her financial dealings and leadership. Last week, a mass shooting on SII Boulevard rocked the community, but it was Henyard's growing list of legal troubles that captured public attention. She is now facing more charges of embezzlement after reports revealed that she had misappropriated large sums of money from her own cancer charity. This revelation has further damaged her reputation and sparked outrage among residents who once believed in her leadership. According to reports, Henyard's cancer charity raised a significant $228,000 under the pretense of supporting cancer-related causes. However, the whereabouts of these funds remain unclear, raising serious concerns about their proper allocation and use. Many of the supporters and contributors, who donated in good faith with the belief that their money would go to help those in need, are now worried by the charity's lack of financial transparency. The charity's failure to provide clear financial documentation has only fueled the suspicions surrounding Henyard's management of both public and charitable funds. This lack of transparency has caused growing frustration among the residents of Dalton, who are now questioning whether Henyard's actions are part of a larger pattern of financial misconduct. Locals are trying to piece together her financial transactions, and many have pointed to a consistent lack of clarity and possible financial abuse in her handling of public funds. As the investigation into her financial activities continues, suspicions have grown that Henyard may have used her position for personal gain, exploiting the public's trust for her own benefit. The fact that Henyard is unable to provide definitive answers regarding the $228,000 in question has only intensified calls for a comprehensive audit of her financial dealings. The charity's troubles have further eroded the community's trust in Henyard's leadership and raised a volume of demands for her resignation. People are expressing shock and anger, struggling to understand how someone in such a powerful position could permit such moral failings. As the investigation into the charity continues, other fundraising initiatives tied to Henyard have also come under scrutiny. Many residents are beginning to believe that the cancer charity scandal is part of a broader issue within her administration, raising concerns that more of her actions as mayor and supervisor may have been motivated by self-interest. As a result of the mounting scandal, residents are becoming increasingly determined to demand justice and change in leadership. They are calling for a shift toward responsibility, openness, and integrity in local governance. The desire for transparency in charitable organizations, particularly those relying on public donations, has grown, and people are pushing for stricter regulations and oversight to prevent similar situations in the future. The pressure on Henyard has intensified as investigations continue. For nearly 2 years, accusations of corruption and financial mismanagement have surrounded her tenure as both Dalton's mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. Now, federal agents are involved, with multiple sources confirming that they have been interviewing witnesses in connection with potential investigation. Some local business owners, frustrated by Henyard's actions, have gone so far as to approach the FBI. One South Ribbon Dalton business owner, who owns a U-Haul rental and trucking company, claimed that his business was targeted after he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Henyard. He alleged that Dalton police raided his business and harassed him in retaliation for his refusal to donate. This troubling pattern of retaliation, coupled with the financial mismanagement of her charity, has caused widespread public outrage. Henyard now faces mounting legal action and has been issued an injunction to cease accepting donations for a Tiffany Henyard Care Foundation. The injunction came after it was revealed that the foundation had failed to provide the necessary documentation to demonstrate how the funds it raised were being used to assist cancer patients. This lack of financial transparency has added significant weight to the growing allegations against Henyard and further fueled suspicions of mismanagement and misuse of public funds. The foundation, which reportedly raised considerable sums of money under the guise of supporting cancer patients, has been unable to provide any essential records or reports to substantiate its financial practices. This omission has raised serious red flags, particularly among donors and regulators who expect transparency and accountability from charitable organizations. Community members who had contributed to the cause, believing their donations would directly benefit cancer patients, expressed their deep frustration and sense of betrayal upon hearing about the injunction. Many feel deceived by Henyard and are now calling for an investigation into how the funds were managed and whether the charity was being used for personal gain. The case has sparked a wider conversation about the need for better oversight and accountability within the charitable sector. Donors and residents are pushing for stricter regulations to ensure that charitable organizations are held to high standards of financial transparency. This scandal has underscored the critical importance of ethical leadership, especially in positions of power, and has raised questions about Henyard's ability to lead with integrity. As investigations into Henyard's foundation continue, the focus remains on uncovering the full extent of any financial irregularities and ensuring that those responsible are held accountable. The growing public demand for justice is a direct response to the apparent exploitation of public trust and the manipulation of well-meaning donors. Many residents now see Henyard's actions as a betrayal of the community and an abuse of the power she held. The FBI has reportedly been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation into Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars for personal gain. Multiple witnesses, including local business owners, former village employees, and at least one public official, have been interviewed by federal agents. The investigation is still ongoing, and the potential for charges remains uncertain. But the growing body of evidence and the public outcry against Henyard's actions suggest that the fallout from this scandal will be far-reaching. The case has sparked outrage across South suburban communities, particularly in Thornton Township, where Henyard's leadership has come under heavy scrutiny. A recent meeting to discuss the budget for the township revealed the extent of local dissatisfaction with her administration. Residents, many of whom have been silently frustrated for years, filled the room to voice their concerns. They are demanding change, greater transparency, and a renewed commitment to ethical leadership from their elected officials. The unfolding scandal involving Tiffany Henyard has captured the public's attention, and it is clear that the investigation into her financial activities is far from over. As more details emerge, the pressure continues to mount on Henyard to answer for her actions. The community, once hopeful in her leadership, is now calling for accountability, justice, and a change in direction for their town. This scandal serves as a stark reminder of the importance of integrity in public office and the need for better oversight to prevent abuses of power and public trust in the future. The residents of Dalton and Thornton Township are watching closely, eager for justice to be served and for their community to heal from the damage caused by Henyard's alleged actions.
You have been bamboozled.
Because what we're not going to do is we're not going to be homeless behind her raising our taxes.
And you were saying that you have good business skills. Then you should take a look at the budget again.
You are a public servant.
Tiffany Henyard's troubles have only deepened as new allegations continue to surface, painting a disturbing picture of corruption, mismanagement, and betrayal in the small town of Dalton, with only 20,000 residents. Accusations of embezzling public funds have shocked the tight-knit community, leaving many in disbelief. But these charges only scratch the surface of a much larger and more troubling pattern of wrongdoing. The scandal has revealed that Henyard's actions may have affected those in the community who were already struggling financially, with reports suggesting that she targeted vulnerable individuals to further her own personal gain. The accusations against Henyard are not only about embezzling public money, but also involve diverting funds meant for community development and support. These funds, intended to help improve the lives of Dalton residents, were allegedly funneled into Henyard's personal pursuits, creating a chilling image of a leader who put her own interests far above those of her constituents. The scope of these allegations, spanning both public and private domains, portrays a leader who abused her position for personal benefit, showing a clear disregard for the very people she was elected to serve. The FBI and other federal authorities have now intervened, looking into Henyard's financial transactions and other potential misconduct. Their involvement underscores the gravity of the situation and demonstrates that the scale of the alleged corruption has not gone unnoticed. As more details emerge, the once hopeful and trusting community begins to grapple with feelings of betrayal, frustration, and outrage. The residents of Dalton feel as though the trust they place in Henyard has been violated in the worst way possible. Reports indicate that Henyard's leadership was marked by extravagant spending, questionable financial practices, and a tendency to prioritize her personal gain over the town's essential needs. These alleged actions have been particularly damaging to Dalton's most vulnerable residents, as Henyard is accused of exploiting people already facing financial hardship while depriving them of the resources they desperately needed. The diversion of public funds for personal use and the exploitation of those who needed help most have caused deep hurt and anger in the community, in addition to the financial mismanagement. Henyard is also accused of retaliating against those who disagree with her, further contributing to an atmosphere of fear and distrust. Reports of targeted actions against individuals who question her behavior have made the situation even more alarming. This toxic environment, coupled with the apparent abuse of power, has only fueled calls for Henyard's removal from office and a thorough investigation into her actions. The fact that federal agents are now involved in the investigation signals the seriousness of the charges. Reports suggest that the FBI is focusing on Henyard's financial dealings, including how she used taxpayer money, and her overall behavior while in office. This scrutiny has brought the issue of local governance and the need for strict oversight, transparency, and accountability to the forefront. Henyard's case has sparked a broader discussion about the importance of ethical leadership and the dangers of unchecked power, especially in small communities where trust in local leaders is paramount. The direct impact on vulnerable groups, such as those who were allegedly exploited by Henyard, has been particularly devastating. These individuals, many of whom were already struggling, now feel betrayed by the very person they trusted to lead them through difficult times. The anguish and anger these affected residents have only intensified as they grapple with the reality that their leader may have taken advantage of their hardships for personal gain. As the investigation progresses, activists and community leaders have united to demand systemic changes in local governance. They are calling for stronger checks and balances to prevent similar abuses of power in the future. The mounting evidence of Henyard's involvement in multiple schemes has made it clear that the breach of trust during her tenure as mayor was profound. The calls for accountability are growing louder, with residents demanding her resignation and a thorough investigation into all aspects of her leadership. The scandal serves as a sobering reminder of the damaging effects that corruption can have on a community, especially when it involves leaders who abuse their power for personal gain. The ongoing revelations about Henyard's alleged actions have rocked Dalton to its core, and the community is now reeling from the damage caused by her leadership. The lack of accountability and transparency has left many feeling betrayed and distrustful, and the need for change has never been more urgent. The controversy surrounding Henyard has now spilled over into the local fire department, highlighting the broader impact of her alleged actions. Adam FIC, a firefighter in Dalton for over 10 years and the union representative for Local 3766, spoke out about the growing concerns within the fire department. He explained that many of the village's 21 firefighters are afraid to speak out for fear of retaliation. The fire department, like other public services in Dalton, has been affected by the financial mismanagement and corruption alleged to have occurred under Henyard's leadership. FIC and the union have filed numerous grievances against the village, many of which focus on financial issues and the misallocation of funds. These grievances are a reflection of the growing dissatisfaction among local workers who are directly affected by Henyard's decisions. The fire department, which relies on adequate funding and resources to ensure the safety of the community, has been left grappling with the consequences of Henyard's alleged misuse of taxpayer money. The firefighters' concerns about retaliation speak to the toxic atmosphere that has taken hold in Dalton, where fear and distrust now permeate every level of local government. The situation has become a rallying point for those who are calling for systemic change in Dalton. As more information about Henyard's actions continues to emerge, the demand for justice and accountability grows. Residents are demanding not only her resignation, but also the implementation of reforms to ensure that future leaders are held to higher standards of integrity and transparency. The community is coming together to fight for a better future, one that is free from the corruption and mismanagement that obtained the town's leadership under Henyard. The unfolding scandal has cast a shadow over Henyard's political career, and has brought to light the deeper issues of governance and accountability in small communities. The allegations of embezzlement, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power have sparked outrage and have led to widespread calls for change. The community of Dalton, once united behind Henyard's leadership, now finds itself divided and demanding accountability for the damage done. As the investigation progresses, it remains to be seen how much further the scandal will go and whether justice will be served for the residents who have been affected by Henyard's actions.
At some point, there needs to be some oversight. And someone has to get to the bottom of what and why these things are.
Gonzalez is a Thornton Township trustee.
Once again, a long series, unfortunately, of things that just seem to be done incorrectly or possibly.
Things took a turn for the worse when those Tiffany Henyard allegedly targeted chose to lodge complaints and forward them to the FBI. One such individual, a partner who operates a U-Haul transportation and rental business in South Suburban Dalton, says he became furious when the village of Dalton refused to renew his business license. In retaliation, he went to the FBI several months ago. The FBI responded by interviewing multiple witnesses, including local authorities, as part of their investigation into Henyard's activities. Business owners from Dalton have reportedly expressed their grievances, none of them offering favorable comments about the mayor, according to Gardner, the U-Haul business partner, after he declined to make a contribution to a community event organized by Henyard. The Dalton police harassed him at his place of business and even shut it down. This has further escalated concerns about Henyard's misuse of power. In light of these accusations, it is now known that the FBI is questioning Henyard regarding her alleged use of public funds and resources, and agents have been using electronic surveillance in their investigation. Gardner is one of 6 individuals who have been interviewed by the FBI, with sources confirming that at least one government official, a former village employee, and several company owners from Dalton have been questioned. The investigation is growing, and those who have spoken out against Henyard are becoming increasingly vocal in their condemnation of her actions. The situation has ignited broader scrutiny of Henyard's leadership, with many questioning her handling of public resources and her alleged retaliation against those who oppose her. The controversy surrounding Henyard's leadership deepened when she introduced a controversial ordinance that many believe was designed to solidify her political power. The ordinance, which was perceived by some as a blatant attempt to guarantee her position as supervisor, caused an uproar in Dalton and several South suburban municipalities. During a heated meeting to discuss the budget, residents crowded the room, angrily opposing Henyard's proposal, which would have raised taxes. These individuals voiced their fears that Henyard's actions would lead to financial hardship for residents and potentially force them into homelessness. The ordinance would have also guaranteed Henyard a salary of $224,000 per year as Thornton Township supervisor, but only a small portion of this would go to anyone else. The proposal included a clause that would reduce Henyard's pay to just $25,000 annually if she ran for re-election in 2025 and lost, a provision that many found ridiculous. In December, the Board of Trustees passed a rule aimed at preventing such a move, and this week, a law was passed in Springfield to repeal the ordinance. Now, the only thing standing in the way of its repeal is the governor's signature. In addition to the financial misconduct allegations, Henyard is also accused of misappropriating funds meant for the local firefighters' retirement fund. The funds, which are deducted from the firefighters' paychecks each month, are intended to support their retirement accounts. However, it has come to light that these funds are being transferred from Dalton to the fire department without proper authorization or accountability. This has raised alarm within the fire department and the community. Adam Fick, a firefighter in Dalton for 12 years and a union representative for Local 3766, expressed his concerns about Henyard's leadership. While there are multiple issues at play, Fick highlighted that most of the union's grievances revolve around financial mismanagement and a lack of transparency within the township. He also revealed that many of the 21 firefighters in Dalton are afraid to speak out against Henyard for fear of retaliation. These fears have contributed to the culture of silence that has surrounded Henyard's actions. Further complicating the efforts to hold her accountable, the union has filed a number of grievances against the village, citing the financial issues and the lack of transparency in the handling of public funds. Fick and other concerned residents are calling for answers and a thorough investigation into the use of taxpayer money. Henyard's leadership has clearly eroded trust, and her controversial decisions continue to fuel resentment among the community. Henyard is now at the center of a wide-ranging federal investigation, with several lawsuits pending against her. The investigation is growing in scope as more details emerge about her alleged misuse of power and public funds. The community, once hopeful about Henyard's leadership, is now grappling with the fallout from her actions. The revelations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and retaliation have prompted a wave of calls for accountability. Residents and workers alike are demanding justice, transparency, and end to the toxic leadership that has plagued their community. The future of Dalton and of Henyard's political career remains uncertain as the investigation continues and the public's anger grows.
That was the main goal, to cut off her access and other operators in the municipality. I have to be careful choosing my words here.
I've never seen any municipality have so many credit cards out there.
Questions are being raised about Tiffany Henyard allegedly using taxpayer dollars for personal expenses, including her makeup artist. An itemized payroll sheet from May of last year lists Brandon Mann as an administrative assistant, but when contacted, he revealed he was actually Henyard's makeup artist. Chris Gonzalez, a Thornton Township trustee, is involved in the situation.
Orders going out to eat is mind-boggling. The trips, the shopping, going to Target and spending $300, $500, $600, even dollar amounts. It seems very fishy, and it looks like gift cards are purchased.
Tiffany Henyard is facing intense scrutiny and numerous accusations of financial misconduct, including improper use of taxpayer money for personal expenses, such as her makeup artist. According to a payroll sheet from May of the previous year, Brandon Mann is listed as an administrative assistant, but later revealed that he was actually serving as Henyard's makeup artist. When NBC5 reached out for comment, Henyard's administration did not respond. Additionally, allegations surrounding the misuse of public funds extend to her involvement in the fire department's retirement plan and health insurance. Firefighters claim that funds intended for their retirement accounts have been misappropriated, with premiums for their health insurance not being collected, resulting in claim denials. This has raised further concerns about Henyard's management of taxpayer resources. In response, NBC Chicago reached out to various officials for clarification, but there were no clear answers, further complicating the situation. Henyard's use of taxpayer dollars for personal expenses, like beauty treatments, has sparked outrage among local residents and officials. Chris Gonzalez, a trustee for Thornton Township, was also mentioned in the investigation. He was listed on the payroll sheet as an administrative assistant, but when contacted, admitted he was Henyard's makeup artist amidst these controversies. There's been widespread dissatisfaction from the community. People have expressed their displeasure at town meetings, where Henyard appeared calm and relaxed despite the heated discussions. At one point, she attempted to halt the FBI's investigation into her financial activities. Critics have pointed out the suspicious nature of various financial transactions and improper use of village funds for personal political interests, including expenses related to political events. The board has taken steps to limit Henyard's spending power, capping village credit cards to restrict her ability to use public funds for personal or political matters. Additionally, there have been claims of excessive spending on personal items, such as shopping sprees at stores like Target, raising doubts about the legitimacy of these expenditures. These concerns have prompted the investigation of Henyard's financial practices, with former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot now involved in examining the village's finances, while Henyard continues to defend her actions, including accusing the investigation of being politically motivated. The mounting evidence of financial irregularities and mismanagement has deepened the community's distrust in her leadership. Legal and financial experts are now calling for more oversight and transparency in local governance to prevent similar abuses of power in the future. The situation has triggered a broader debate about accountability and the proper use of public resources, with residents and officials demanding accountability for Henyard's alleged actions in the face of these growing concerns. Henyard's political future remains uncertain, as calls for her resignation continue to intensify. With ongoing investigations and multiple lawsuits, it is clear that the fallout from these revelations will have lasting consequences for her career and the community she once led.